to finish up today the colonists' decision to declare their independence. And we'll do a quick little review here, just mention. I want to go back to January of 1776 when Thomas Paine authored a pamphlet entitled Common Sense. That was the spark that dropped into a keg of gunpowder that kind of got this revolution philosophy going. Paine was a former British political writer who came to America in 1774, and his writings in the pamphlet Common Sense included the following statement: "I offer nothing more than simple facts, plain arguments, and common sense." He continued his statement by pointing out that the Americans had grown into a new and different nation with different interests of their own, and we compared that to what Count Verzane had said way back in 1767 when he predicted the American Revolution. And then he said, "The period of debate is closed. Arms as a last resource must decide this contest. Everything that is right or reasonable pleads for separation. The blood of the slain, the weeping voice of nature cries, 'tis time to part." Then we also, didn't we mention that Paine, pointed out there would be some advantages, practical advantages of declaring independence? Did we talk about that at all? We said that as an independent nation, captured patriots could demand to be treated as prisoners of war, right? Avoid being shot as rebels. That the patriot governments could seize the property of all Americans who remain loyal to the British Crown. And most importantly, the patriots would have a better chance of winning foreign aid from France and Great Britain because those two countries were at war with Great Britain, right? Finished up right there, is that correct? Okay, did I tell you that on June 7th, 1776, Richard Henry Lee of Virginia introduced a resolution in the Second Continental Congress? Did I tell you that? Okay, well, on June 7th, I want you to think of the timeline, because what's the magic date we're looking for? When was the Declaration of Independence? July 4th of 1776. So we got a little bit of a timeline here how this process works. So it's on June 7th of 1776 that Richard Henry Lee of Virginia introduces a resolution in the Second Continental Congress. On June 7th, 1776, Richard Henry Lee of Virginia introduced a resolution in the Second Continental Congress. Now, what's a resolution again, Luke Mortimer? It's a description of your intent, right? What's your will and your intent, what you're going to do. Once a resolution is presented, then the Continental Congress has got to decide whether to accept that resolution or not. Well, here's what Richard Henry Lee's resolution stated. Quote, "These united colonies are and of right ought to be free and independent states." The resolution that was introduced on June 7th, 1776 by Richard Henry Lee of Virginia stated, quote, "These united colonies are and of right ought to be free and independent states." These united colonies are and of right ought to be free and independent states. June 7th, 1776, Richard Henry Lee of Virginia introduces a resolution in the Second Continental Congress stating, quote, "These united colonies are and of right ought to be free and independent states." Well, what's going to happen now is the Continental Congress is going to debate back and forth on whether they think they should accept his resolution. Well, in the meantime, on June 11th, the Second Continental Congress put together a committee of 5 men to actually write a formal Declaration of Independence. So as they are mulling back and forth that this resolution is going to be a good thing or not, they kind of want to see it in writing, what it's going to amount to. So on June 11th, the Second Continental Congress appoints a committee of 5 men to actually write a formal Declaration of Independence. So if you look at how this is going to work, between June 7th and whenever, I guess in this case it'll be July 4th, the Second Continental Congress is going to mull over this resolution, right, by Richard Henry Lee. In the meantime, they're going to have these 5 men write a formal Declaration of Independence, and they're going to study that, and then they're going to accept or deny the resolution, and then if they accept the resolution, then they're going to read through this written Declaration of Independence and make some tweaks to that, and then accept that, and then we've got one. That's kind of how it's supposed to work. So we'll see how it works. First of all, anybody want to guess? So give me one member, if you would, of that committee of 5 that was put together to write the Declaration of Independence.
Thomas Jefferson.
Thomas Jefferson, okay? That's one that's easy because it's on the ID sheet. Danny, how about another person? Don't give me that. Get on your ID sheet, girl, and get with the cookies here. Robert who? Robert R. Livingston was another one. Robert R. Livingston was another one. Bailey, how about another one? Roger Sherman. So we've got Thomas Jefferson, Robert R. Livingston, Roger Sherman. Now, Tatum, because I think you're awesome, I want you to try to think of one of the other 2 that's not on the ID sheet that you've probably heard of in your lifetime. Take a guess. Who is the other 2 or the other 2? I want you to know the other class got them both. Anybody? Yes?
George Washington?
No, good guess. Benjamin Franklin is one. Who's the other one, Luke?
That was my guess.
Well, come on, you got to come up with another guess. You've heard of this person without doubt. But
Wiggs on here?
no, we're off the ID sheet. So we've got Thomas Jefferson, Benjamin Franklin, Robert R. Livingston, Roger Sherman, and the second President of the United States, John Adams. Very good, John Adams. So on June 11th, 1776, before voting on Richard Henry Lee's resolution, the Congress appoints a committee of 5 to write a formal Declaration of Independence. Those being Thomas Jefferson, Benjamin Franklin, John Adams, Robert R. Livingston, and Roger Sherman. Who actually wrote it?
John Hancock.
No.
Jefferson.
Thomas Jefferson. Thomas Jefferson actually wrote it. He was the one that actually wrote it out. Thomas Jefferson did the actual writing of the Declaration of Independence. So, time passes, and finally on June 28th of 1776, Lee's resolution was formally presented to Congress, and they adopted it on July 2nd. It was presented to them officially on June 28th of 1776, and they adopted it on July 2nd, 1776. So as they mulled it over, they were writing this formal Declaration of Independence. Finally, on June 28th of 1776, the resolution that these united colonies are and of right ought to be free and independent states was presented to Congress. Finally, on July 2nd of 1776, they adopted it. And when they adopted that, Regan, they're basically doing what? And if they're going to go by it, they're going to do what? And they're going to do what? By declaring their independence. They're going to go to war with Great Britain. So they're officially actually declaring war on Great Britain when they adopt Richard Henry Lee's resolution. They basically stated, we will now go to war with Great Britain. That was the only way they're going to win their independence, wasn't it? They don't just get to say, we're independent, and Great Britain says, okay, you betcha. No, they're going to have to fight for that. So when they accept the resolution, they are virtually declaring war on Great Britain. Well, the next thing, between July 2nd and July 4th, what happens? On July 3rd, Congress then turned their attention to this writing of the Declaration of Independence. They looked through it, made some changes, and what did they do on July 4th? Adopted it and signed it. That's why July 4th is Independence Day and not June 28th. Okay? So, they adopt the resolution by Lee on July 2nd, 1776. On July 3rd, they turn their attention to the actual writing of the Declaration of Independence, make some changes in it, and formally adopt the Declaration of Independence on July 4th of 1776. Now, where is Andy? Who was the first one to sign it, my dear?
John Hancock.
John Hancock. Why would he be the first to sign it? Why didn't Luke Lamb sign it if he was there? Why did John Hancock get assigned it? And he signed it big. Why did he get assigned? He was the president of the Second Continental Congress. So he got assigned first, and he signed in great big bold strokes, making sure that King George III could see his signature on the Declaration of Independence. So if you look at the Declaration of Independence, you'll see the big John Hancock right in the middle. Have you ever heard the expression, you're going to put your John Hancock on something? That means you're going to sign it, okay? Ever watch Tommy Boy?
Yeah.
When he said Herbie Hancock instead, he got a little mixed up. Okay. I always got a kick out. There's a lot of historical subliminal messages in some of these movies. Yeah, you mean Herbie, don't you? Yeah, right, okay. You watch that and you'll see what I mean. Now, with that being done, reactions in the American colonies among American colonists were mixed. Obviously, you have those four that are really for that, and those that are really against that, and those in the middle, okay? The ones that were really for it were patriots, right? Who later received the nickname Whigs. Whigs. W-H-I-G-S. So the people that rejoiced over the news of the Declaration of Independence were the patriots, or Whigs. Those that were very disgusted by the Declaration of Independence were loyalists, who received the nickname Tories. Now these Tories, these people, these loyalists that stayed loyal to the king after the Declaration of Independence were regarded by the patriots as traitors. So they're referred to as Tories in the colonies. To be referred to as a Tory in the colony was not good. That was like being called a bad thing. Okay? And these Tories were basically viewed by patriots as traitors. Okay? What type of people were Tories? Wealthy what? Okay, merchants, lawyers, church leaders. Remember we kind of talked about these before? And what else? The fourth one. Especially in the South, a lot of these. Big. Washington actually had landowners. So the people that were most apt to be a Tory or a loyalist after the Declaration of Independence would be wealthy merchants, wealthy landowners, wealthy lawyers, wealthy church leaders. Okay? All right, now I want everybody to take out your little assignment. Looks like this in the front, has lines in the back. You all should have one. Gave them to you with the handouts, and we'll go through what those are all about, and they'll be due at the end of the period today, so we want to make sure you understand what you're doing. So go ahead and everybody get those out if you would, in front of you. You won't need anything in front of you other than that if you want to put your binder underneath your seat or whatever. It's totally up to you. Now what this is part of the Declaration of Independence to a point. It says, when Thomas Jefferson, Virginia planter and delegate to the Continental Congress, was asked to write a justification for American independence, he drew from Enlightenment ideas that were familiar to many British Americans. Congress adopted Jefferson's Declaration on July 4th, 1776. You'll read through that. If you look at the back, it says, identify the 5 most significant words in this document. Explain your choices. So, you will take your highlighters, and once you figure out which 5 are yours, you will highlight them like this, and then you will justify on the back why you chose those 5 words, okay? Now, make sure you highlight those 5 words on the front, but you don't want to hurry up and highlight them before you're sure those are the 5 you want, because I don't want you to highlight and scratching them out, okay? This particular individual highlighted declare separation, liberty, duty, and security for whatever reason. Are there any right answers to the 5? No. What counts is your justification of how you justify why you picked the word you did. So I'd like it nice and quiet, because some people are like me and have ADHD and can't concentrate if everybody's talking. I want you to work on those. Take your time. Read through that carefully. Make sure, again, you highlight on the front the words you have chosen, and then justify them on the back. When you are done, please put them in this middle basket right here, and then be nice and quiet until everyone else gets it figured out, okay? And I want to see what your thought process is. And I'm even going to I'm taking count here. And I just would say with the first period class, second period, they 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22, 23, 24, 25, 26, 27, 28, 29, 30. 30 different words they highlight. Everybody had different opinions. So I will keep track of what you highlight just to see which words are most popular in this reading. But there were 30 different words. Remember, I want one word. 30 different words, second period. So I'll be curious to see what you guys have.